What's the word, family? In today's video, we're going to discuss what to do with your unfinished music. One of the things that I've noticed is that a ton of us producers seem to always have more unfinished songs and projects than we do finished projects. I'm going to respond to Taetro's video about what he thinks you all should do, and then I'm going to give you my perspective and what I think is probably maybe a little more logical. Let's get into it.
The first and most important tip is that not all music that you've started to make, not every unfinished project deserves to be finished. In fact, many of them don't. Not everything we make is great. Not everything we made was meant to be a finished project. You could have started a project and learned a lot about mixing or learned a lot about this instrument plugin. But the key here is you should go through your unfinished projects and identify which of those you actually want to finish. Now when I get the urge to work on music, instead of opening my laptop and starting a brand new project every time, I can revisit the projects that I've marked as good stuff or the projects in the genre folder that I want to work in that given moment.
So for this one, I disagree, but maybe not for the reason that you might think. For me, I think it's a terrible habit to build, not finishing things all the way through or not seeing things all the way through. Even if you don't like the song, even if you don't like the sound choice or what you've used, you need to start making it a habit to finish your projects. Otherwise, regardless of what any other tips that anybody gives you, myself included, it won't matter because they'll fall on deaf ears and you'll never finish a project or see anything through to the end. This is the specific point that I disagree with. Finish your projects through to the end, whether you like them or not. It's going to help you build that muscle memory and honestly that courage to finish your projects through to the end.
All right, tip number two. Tip number two. Along the same lines with the projects we're not going to finish, it doesn't mean we just throw them in the trash. There's probably stuff we can take out of them. For instance, we could create our own samples. Maybe that one project you're getting rid of where the beat was just not hitting, you recorded an amazing synth loop or an awesome guitar loop, or maybe the drums were fire within that project. Just export that little 4-bar loop or that 16-bar loop or that one shot that you created. Make your own sample folder based on all your old material that you're not using anyway. Imagine a world where you don't have to go into some app to download somebody else's samples. Instead, you have built up this folder over time of your own samples to go and flip. Not only that, some of you are really talented at creating chord progressions, melodies, a lot of guitar players out there that are playing dope riffs. This can also be a great revenue source for all of you producers out there, releasing your own sample packs. Pull awesome sample material from projects you're never gonna finish.
So I agree with this part. The only problem that I have with the second tip that came after the first tip is that if you don't finish your projects, you might not have those fully flushed ideas to be able to then use as sample loops. However, I have to agree with this tip here. If you have a project that you just don't like, you can always pull out the samples. You can pull out the MIDI. You can make you a MIDI kit or whatever you want to do with it at that point, right? But again, he's right here. There's many things that you can do with those unused sounds. You can take them, give them to a friend, let them finish it off. You can upload these samples or loops to Splice and have those individuals start to collaborate with and use it that way. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach this specific piece. Good stuff.
Third and final tip here. You worked hard on something in these old projects, and maybe it wasn't the musical ideas, maybe they're not that great, but what about that dope drum kit you built? What about the effects chain you built for the guitar sound? What about that vocal sample you chopped up? All this to say is some of those unfinished projects you have probably have gold that can make your life easier in the future. Save these to your user library, whether it's a drum kit that you built for a project or an FX chain you could use in the future. Don't build it every single time. Build it once, save a version of it, and the next time, for me, right? The next time I want to build a lo-fi chill beat, I can open up that lo-fi drum kit that I already built from a project that I'm not using. Or every time I want to pick up my guitar, I should have an audio effect rack ready to go with the guitar sound that I like. This is also how you're going to start to build your own sound, by using a catalog of sounds and effects that you've spent time building, that you've crafted to your liking, and then using them across your different projects will start to give you your sound. Work smarter, not harder.
I'm gonna sound like a broken record, I can already tell. If you don't finish your projects, you might not have built those presets out because you didn't like the way that the first loop sounded, or the way that that first 8-bar or 16-bar, sound selection loop that you put together sounds. Finish your projects. That's in short. That's what I'm taking even from this. You need to finish the music, even if you don't like it. Overall, I think that the information that Taetro presented was really well put together, and it makes a lot of sense. The one fault that I found within each and every single piece of advice that he gave was that you might not be able to get to that point to where you have enough sounds for drum kits, or you have enough sounds for loop kits or MIDI kits, because you gave up on an idea, right? If the loops and sound projects that you find attractive now, whether it's from Splice or anywhere else, the reason why it sounds good is because somebody took the time and effort to finish and flush out the idea fully, even if it doesn't sound good. Remember, that's the key takeaway that I want you all to have from the video. Finish your projects, because then you'll actually have something that you can use in the future. If you enjoy the video, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. I try to leave and make as much well-rounded content as possible, especially if I'm responding to someone else's video. Again, I think overall, everything that he said makes sense. But I think the one piece that was missed there is that, again, if you don't finish your idea or fully flush out your ideas, it'll be tough for you. One of the things that I think that will help you all in this video right here, it's a list of 20 Native Instruments plugins that are free, that you can use within the free Contact Player and or the paid Contact Player. Make sure you take note of those. It'll help you finish your projects. All right, people. Peace.